Hobart is one of Australia's oldest cities, a survivor from the early but disturbing days of British occupation, when the building of prisons, the punishment of convicts, and the unforgivable treatment of the aborigines paved the way for the British to establish colonial rule and claim Tasmania for the British Crown. The year was 1803, and the British government, eager to seize upon Tasmania's natural wealth of timber, minerals and spices, hastily laid claim to the island for fear of the French beating them to it. Indigenous tribes would have watched their arrival, not knowing that the land they had nurtured for thousands of years would soon be taken from them, and in a manner that can only be described by today's standards as utterly shameful. Soon they will come. First we will hear, then we will see. Through mist we have no fear. Soon they will come, approaching at dawn in death-red uniforms, with loaded guns. They invade our land and come to kill us. We will confront them with spears and boiling blood, lest we should lose this war and cover our land with our very own blood. Soon they will come. Aborigines were seen as inferior people, somehow out of time, an inconvenience, a hindrance, even a threat to the colonial development of Tasmania. Large numbers were rounded up and forcibly moved to Flinders Island to the north of Tasmania. They were the lucky ones. Many were simply shot dead. This indiscriminate killing of Aborigines and the unrelenting decimation of their culture is undeniably a terrible example of ethnic cleansing. A true shameful stain on Tasmanian history by the British, but rarely mentioned. The harsh treatment and punishment of criminals is, however, well recorded. Today, parts of Hobart's waterfront still remain intact from those early colonial days when ships brought in catches of seals and whales, while others offloaded large numbers of British and Irish convicts at the end of an enduring 8-month journey from Britain. Many would be set to work in chain gangs, assisting with the construction of new warehouses and bridges. And now, with most of the Aborigines out of the way and a plentiful supply of cheap convict labour, building could press on at pace to turn Hobart into a little piece of England. In fact, here today at Battery Point, you could quite easily think you were back in Victorian or Edwardian England. A mix of attractive gardens and tea rooms, traditional English cottages, houses and churches, and some more imposing stone-built mansions. A true reflection of early colonial days of British rule. Built in 1874 by a wealthy whaling merchant, this mansion is now a luxury hotel. It's clearly visible in this photograph taken in 1880, standing majestically on the hillside just above Battery Point, with a commanding view across the Southern Ocean and overlooking a very busy harbour scene. With merchant ships from around the world moored alongside what is known as Salamanca Place, with its row of sandstone warehouses behind. There's little doubt this was the real centre of Hobart's trade and commerce. Today, it is the unmissable Salamanca market that dominates this part of Hobart. Each Saturday, this iconic market comes alive with the colours and sounds of Tasmania. As I walked through the market, absorbing its busy and friendly atmosphere, reminders of Hobart's grim history are never far away. Just take a look at those buildings behind. Yes, they are the same old sandstone warehouses visible in the 1880 photograph of Salamanca Place, now home to upmarket restaurants, galleries and shops. All were built around 1830 by convict labour from Hobart's newly built penitentiary. There was never a shortage of labour. The ships kept coming, bringing 70,000 British and Irish convicts, and all transported by the British government, supposedly to reduce overcrowding at home, but more realistically, as a new dumping ground for convicts, now the American colonies had been lost. But of all the penitentiaries set up around Tasmania, it was this imposing convict prison, a deceptively attractive, converted corn mill here at Port Arthur, some 40 miles southeast of Hobart, that became the destination for the hardest of convicted criminals. Most would have been poor young boys or youths from rural areas, or from the slums of big English cities, convicted of crimes that today would seem trivial. All would have been convicted at least once before, and Britain's policy was to treat such reoffenders harshly.
They chain us 2 by 2 and whip and lash us along. They cut off our provisions if we do the least thing wrong. They march us up in the burning sun until our feet are sore. So hard's our lot, now we are got upon Van Diemen's shore. We labour hard from morn to night until our bones do ache. Then everyone, they must obey, their mouldy beds must make. We often wish when we lay down we ne'er may rise no more, to meet our savage governors upon Van Diemen's shore.
In 1848, and just behind the main prison, the first stone was laid for what was called the separate prison, the completion of which reflected a grim shift in British punishment philosophy, from physical to mental subjugation. Hooded and shackled, prisoners were forced to remain silent for hour upon hour. No light, no sound, many went mad. Some never saw the light of day again. They were buried offshore with countless other deceased prisoners on the Island of the Dead. Few visitors to this prison at Port Arthur leave without a palpable sense of brutality. But, ironically, at nearly 300,000 visitors a year, Port Arthur has become Tasmania's most popular tourist attraction. And this itself is a reflection of some very marked changes in the attitude of Tasmanians towards their history. Very few convicts that survived their sentence ever returned home to England, most eventually integrated with the local population, leading today to an estimated 74% of the population with convict ancestors. Until recently, this was seen as a stigma that had to be hidden at all costs. But times have changed, and having a convict ancestor is now a matter of pride. But history itself cannot be changed, and as Hobart has risen to become an exciting, thriving and modern city, the cautionary tales of British colonialism and the absolute extremes of inhumanity, cruelty and genocide remain.